Yeah, we heard that. Wasn't trying to do that. I'm not trying to get a bunch of damn reverb. Okay, so apparently that wasn't working the entire time, and now I get to hear myself the entire time. It's gonna fuck with me the entire time I'm streaming. Um. Okay. Okay. Well, that sucked. I really don't want to hear myself. God damn it. Test. Test. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Now we can get a whole bunch of shitty reverb like what I don't want to do. Anyways, this this track had a lot of vocal stems. Remix kits. Yeah, there was like three tracks. I started first with Syn Nine's 2 weeks to forget. Actually, do I have? I think I deleted. No, here it is. I saved it. No, I don't want to open it. I started with 2 weeks to forget, and then I tried November morning, and then I went for their track Dark Sanctuary, and I was like, oh, this works.
In a foreign land, I've never known. Through an iron gate, set in black stone. Hear you whispering, just out of reach. In my dreams, am I still alive? Are you lost?
So I was like, oh, that's. I like the mood of that track, but it was like it's a really slow track. What was it like 62 beats per minute? Checking. It was something like that. The stems didn't have the BPM information on there, so I had to play the beat matching game with Free Loops metronome and the track itself, which took me a hot minute because of how slow it was. Once I figured that out, let me see if I can pull it up. There you go. So once I pulled that up, god damn. Playlist shift. Boom. There we go. Well, that was weird. Someone riding a damn dirt bike outside at like 9 o'clock at night. Anyways, where is the? Okay. Right click. Okay, there it is. Detect tempo. So I had to first tell it what the BPM was because of how slow the track was and trying to get it to match up with the D&B tempo. So we run the track at halftime, 62 times 2, 124. That's not gonna work. So I had to stretch it from, well, not really stretch, just condense it, because we're going to halftime. So I sped it up every single stem one by one to 87 beats per minute. So it'll run halftime with the full time of the drum bass track running at 174, and just aligned everything that way. Which is why the song is slightly faster, the vocals, but nothing was really lost. As far as, you know, sometimes when you speed it up, like if it has reverb, for instance, it'll sound weird. Uh, Other effects, stuff like that. So it wasn't that big of a change, and since the stems were dry, it really didn't affect it in any negative way possible. Um, and I just ran with it. Sorry, I hear myself like really mess with me. So with that being said, I did that with every single one of these damn stems. It took forever. I wouldn't say that process itself took about. Once I figured out what I needed to do and then actually doing it because of the processing, every single stem, and when you do that, it takes a hot minute when it's these big stems. And it took, I want to say, about an hour and a half to 2 hours to do every single stem. And that's when I started pulling things out. I was like, okay, this stays because this works. This is getting taken out because it doesn't work. Again, since now we could actually hear me talk, I didn't know I was talking to nothing to begin with. So let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Lead, double, double. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 vocal stems. So it wasn't really necessary to have all those. Not for what I was going for in this track. Because with drum and bass, you get these really busy arrangements. So I had to simplify it, but make it sound interesting. So let me go ahead and go into one of the mixers right now about that. So out of all of those, I stuck with 3 of the vocal tracks. So we'll go ahead and start where this was the, I want to say the whisper track. Yeah. Shadows in the night, searching for an address, ritual delights, led by a dark enchantress. One by one, they hold time. Yeah, see, it's really quiet. Really freaking quiet. Let me just go ahead and turn all these off. All the effects. Shadows in the night, searching for an... Let me go ahead and crank this, because this is super fucking quiet. Shadows in the night, searching for an entrance, ritual delights. So the drone and whisper stems were pretty similar. Just slightly different sounding, but having them both together sounded pretty neat with the effects I threw on afterwards. There's... While I was listening to them, I just cranked the volume and then played it with, you know, I got this little cool thing. It's like, how am I going to start this track out with an intro for beat matching and whatnot. So it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of like what I'm going for, but I need to do something more to this. So there's some... It's not like I had these references. It's just like when I work on music, sometimes ideas will come and go. And one thing that came to mind was like them, kind of like them blues rock songs, like the newer ones, not old school, not old school. The newer ones. I'm trying to think. I don't know the fucking names to save my life of these. I've just heard them, so and I've heard it in a lot of different tracks beforehand. They take their voice and they distort it heavily. And it's not only that, like certain tracks like Marilyn Manson from Marilyn Manson do that. Other metal in general when they're doing like their oh, I'm gonna be doing some cleans and shit, and like they fucking distort it. That's what they do. So I applied that same idea to the vocals. Let me see, can I? Yeah, okay, cool. It pulled up on my screen. So that's where. Turn that off. Turn that off. Yeah, see all this distortion? I'm using 3 different variations of distortion to achieve this. So let me see. Bit Crusher was at 56. Sure. Okay. That's literally all that was. Just distortion, and then when the cleans happen, that's why. See, that's off. When the cleans, when he goes towards the cleans during this part on the build before the drop, it turns on to the room reverb to give it had this really cool spatial sound to the vocals, so I just ran with it. This is for the radio sounding effect, because if you do the whole thing like that.
In the night, searching for an actress, ritual delights, led by a dark enchantress, one by one.
See? So, that was pretty much contain the distortion, because I did it to an entire thing before I did anything else to it. It's like distortion first, and then I rounded everything else around it. I think this was for the... That was to add more presence. And this is, I rolled off all the sub frequencies. Didn't want anything going on down there. I mean, the track's going to be super busy, making way for the bass line and the sub frequencies within that bass line. So I don't want anything fucking with that area. Like, I want just make way for the bass line. The low end of it, or the sub end. Low end, sub end, whatever. Same fucking thing. Just about. Depending on who you ask. Anyways. They had wind sound effects. I was like, okay, that's cool. Nice ambience. There's this sample right here. They used it for like 2 seconds within their track, but the more I messed with it, I was like, okay, this actually sounds... Yeah, it has like this Resident Evil vibe to it. I was like, cool. I'll just fucking run with that. It makes like this ominous sound when you repeat it along with everything else. Keep it simple, right? Did I do anything special to that? I think I did. Nothing too crazy. Intro samples. I literally threw that on there. I use camel fat a lot, so every time you see this, don't think I'm distorting it. This has a really nice cap on it, so it will not go above 0, no matter fucking what. So if it's on a channel without anything else, I'm using it specifically for that purpose. As stupid as that sounds, it's my music. I'll make it how the fuck I want. So had a lot of low end information. So I just kind of chilled that out, boosted in frequencies where I actually wanted to. Since it was in the beginning, I really don't play this sound when the bass line's playing. So when I round it off, 50 on down. Yeah. So it's 40. I don't even think I did anything with it. That's just there. So yeah, 40 on down. And then peaked the mid to mid-high range and took the treble off. Not completely, just rolled off. 4,000 off. So the other elements we got going on here. Because before I submitted it, a lot of this was dry. Like I didn't really touch a lot of the polishing on the rest systems until I pretty much did the drums, did the bass line, wrote the track. I was like, okay, how can I make this sound better? Then I started polishing these. So that's the vocal. That's what that is. Okay, yeah, so chords. Again, read it with the reverb. Make it sound like it's off in the back, playing loudly, so you get the nice reverb. Cut that off because I think this is playing on some spots. Is it? No, it just plays on the break in the builds, breakdown in the builds. So yeah, that was cut off. I guess in case I was gonna use it on. I did try it. That's right. I did try it on the chorus, but it's just too much going on. But I left it as is because it sounded fine the way it was. So after I cut it, I was like, whatever, and just ran with it. Higher strings. I think it is the same effect. See again with the reverb. Cut everything else out outside of where I wanted it. The main frequencies of the sound. Everything else got lopped off to make room for everything else going on in the track. Go around the chords. So with all that, you get like this. Oh look, we're sounding like a little mini group playing strings for us. Sounded good. So I imagine, yeah. Oh, I gave that some distortion, low end. I don't know why I said low end. Just give it some extra color to it, as it were. Again with the reverb. Why did that shrink? Stop shrinking, you butthole. Because I want to see my chat. There we go. Yeah, see on the input, had this right here. It sounded kind of nasally. See, that's without the EQ. And then that is with the EQ. So, because there's already... Okay, yeah, moving on. Chorus. Piano, keys. I've used these quite a bit throughout the track, so I gave these some special attention. Again, just a touch of distortion, a little bit of compression, because this was actually a really, really quiet stem, so I needed to bring it up from the depths. Again with the EQ, see the dip in the low mid, don't want too much sound going in that range, so we have that nice distinction between your bottom and the rest. But I like seeing some of the lower notes are hitting that range, and it sounded good. I mean, without it, it sounded weird. You see, at 120. See, it loses its soul, so I was like, let's keep that there. So I did the very minimum. It's like 120, rest underneath, sub, so it has to go. Kept that soul. This was a transition between a bridge, but with drum and bass, I didn't want a bunch of bridges. I wanted to flow of, measures to measures to measures without like this four bar bridge in between like a 32 bar thing. So again, piano, nothing too crazy. I think there's another thing that does that too. Is it right here? Where is it? Yeah. So you get the, and that was the bridge. It was a transition bridge between their verse and their chorus. So I noticed that bridge itself at the end of both the verse and their chorus, it worked. It hit the same damn notes. So here, I'll just get it. Like even on the whispers, it even goes with it. So I was like, you know what, whatever, that sounds good. It'll help right before the transition from each measure. Instead of using it as a bridge, we'll just literally just have it at the end of the measure, and it sounded great. So this repeats every so often.
Dog saying.
Yeah, see. So I kept it because it sounded good. Did I do anything crazy with transitions? No, literally just an EQ. Took off the bottom. Before I move on to that, bells. Did I do anything crazy with you? I don't think you think I did. Usually I remember what I do with these things, but there's a lot of shit. There's a lot of different stems, a lot of different tracks, and I hit each one individually afterwards, so I can't remember every single damn thing I did. I just know the basics of like the main elements of what I did, and everything else just kind of like went out of my mind as far as memory goes. Yeah, I distorted this a little bit. Nothing too crazy. Didn't want it kind of sounded weird with everything else going on in the lows, so I just cut that out. And then I gave it that extra space with the reverb. It sounded good, so I ran with it. Sounds good. What's the problem? Now, the Hoover, I was kind of reluctant to use it at first because of the Reese bass line, but it kind of has a string quality to it, especially with how see, look, straight down the mid with a little bit of low mid. But without it, you have like this saw with a lot of unison, but it still has a string quality. So just see, it kind of removes the high tops. They're peaking with the unison, and there was going to be plenty of that with the bass line, so I wanted to remove those qualities from this because I didn't want them clashing. But like I said, I wanted to include it because it sounded good with the rest of this, so I kept it on the builds. I think this was just a string Persian. Just a smidge of distortion. Some chorus without spread. See, it's not even that wide, it's like 1/3. Some reverb. Give it disinfect, and I just rolled off the sub. And then you put it all together, and what do you get? And it's gonna just switch from the vocals to the lead cleans.
Just out of reach in my dreams. Am I still alive?
Okay, so one thing I did not touch on yet, because I wanted to kind of lead up to that. Turn all that off. Okay, so I hit that part 3 times within a track, both builds, and then one before the chorus, which goes into the second build.
In a foreign land. In a foreign land I've never known, through an iron gate.
Oops, still got all that on.
In a foreign land I've never known, through an iron gate. Set in black stone, hear you whispering, just out of reach in my dreams.
And then it cut off because then I go back to the verse on that before it goes back into the build. So that's what you got it when it sounds like it's dry. So there was two different parts because the vocal bus, the whisper tracks go into the bus as well. And you see, yeah, you can see what I'm talking about. I'm talking like you can't see my screen. See, these three vocal tracks go into the vocal bus, and the vocal bus has its own effects that affect everything else that's going on as a whole with these three tracks. So the lead has its own effects. So I didn't want any of this going on with this stuff. I just wanted their roll-offs through the EQ. As you see, very, very, very simple. What the magic that happens with these happens within the bus, and the automation I have affects these. That's why when the lead comes on, that actually dies off. It's still on. It gets chilled out. It doesn't ride hard the entire time, because I literally did a fade between the whisper track that is heavily distorted, and then I literally cross-faded into the regular vocals. And I did it very precisely to make it sound like he's going from whispering to actually doing cleans. And with the cleans, I added some spread chorus. I cut out, did a really, really easy roll off from 200 and below. As you see his, let me see if I can, yeah.
In a foreign land I've never known, through an iron gate.
See, there's still a little bit going on in a sub. I mean, you really can't hear it, but for the sake of just making it clean, rolled off. And I actually gave it a little pep from 1200 on up to cut through everything else. I actually did a pretty neat trick with this at this specific point, but I'll elaborate on that here in a minute. Segue into it. Because there's, like I said, there's a lot of shit I did to this track.
In a foreign land I've never known, through an iron gate, set in black stone.
See, it doesn't really sound like it makes that big of a difference, but in the mix of everything else going on, it actually helps the S's and whatnot not get lost with the reese that's going on behind it, because that is very loud, very aggressive, and takes up a lot of space. So I wanted certain things to enunciate correctly without being lost behind it, and it worked. And you know, if it's not stupid if it works, so I ran with that. Actually, speaking of what I did with it, put that reverb back on. Okay, so one cool thing, I did this near the end because of this part. This was actually kind of a trouble spot because of the vocals clashing with the reese. So what I did was,
in a foreign land I've never known, through an iron gate, set in black stone.
okay, see, I got the Fruity P controller turned on, and I have the vocals ran through this. Now I'm going to bring up my reese bus. Yeah, here we go. So this is the EQ at the end of my reese bus. So I got both of these pulled up, and you're going to see what this does. I have this connected to 4 right here.
In a foreign land I've never known, through an iron gate, set in black stone. Hear
what's happening is, as that vocal track is being ran through that channel, it has the Fruity P controller. I have it attached to this band right here, over on the left. And as the signal comes through, I have this program that, okay, so the bass is going to be at 50, which this is at 50, and I have it ducked down 26% at the peak.
In a foreign land,
It goes down here.
I've never known, through an iron gate.
And I did that so the main frequencies of his vocals cut through the mix of that Reese, and you get vocal clarity. And it's very subtle. You really don't notice it because when the vocals back off, the Reese goes right back up. It's a nice little illusion that helps make space for when it's just not there. It's side chaining. I figured, why the hell not? I mean, you could do it with a kick and bass. Like, why can't you do it with other things? So I applied it with vocals in a very subtle way, and it worked.
In a foreign land, I've never known, through an iron gate, set in black stone, hear you whispering, just out of reach, in my dreams. Are you lost, my dear? She whispers on my neck.
Okay, so yeah. I was pretty proud of that. I was like, oh, man, I made it work. I made it fucking work. Oh, small victories. So yeah, that. All right, so that's pretty much everything I did with the Syn 9 elements. Now, what in the hell did I do? What did I bring to this? I'm gonna make it a drum and bass remix, so I used all this stuff. I didn't mean to move that. So let's start with the drums, because it's probably the least complicated thing I did. That was literally just sound selection, because I'm still working on my own kit for my newer work. So, and this kind of track wasn't a two-step dance to death track, so I wanted to go for more of a broken beat, old school tech step kind of vibe. Not like it's an aim and break everywhere kind of thing. But yeah, let's go. Yeah, literally, I had a bunch of sample packs, and this sounds good, this sounds good, this sounds good. Edited it, and it worked. So, Audica Meth Lab break. I've had this since. Let me go ahead and open another channel. I just wanted to kick in the track, so I just did a lazy bounce in. I've always thought that break was super fucking rough and tough, and I loved it. And for this track, I actually didn't add that in. I just wanted to kick from it, because it had that nice industrial ching at the top of it. That super deep kick drum. And when I was listening to this break, I think I just had, and the original kick was just, yeah, it was literally just like this little fucking puny. That's from a June Miller kit. I was like, oh, that's just weak and puny sounding. But I mean, at the time I was just ran with it. So I just adding extra percussion, perks, because has a really good snare, has really good splash hats to it. What's missing, that extra shit in between. Just a shaker. I have good shakers, but this one, I really like how this sounded alongside these. So it was just... And then I took a kick. Snare side, no. Oh, no, that's right, because this is its own thing. So I routed it into, let me see, break 3 kick. Really didn't do too much to this. Just did the standard setup. Let me see, basic starter. I do everything. So 30 roll off, 20 hertz roll off. I gave it a little bit of extra sparkle on top, 2900 on up, and then a free P controller for side chain on the Breeze baseline. In case you're wondering what this is right here, I made a snare sidechain, which you can see right here. I'm just gonna turn it off. Yeah. So that kick hits so deep that I don't like doing it where it just lops off the whole thing, because usually my kicks are like 50 rolled off, but this I wanted to hit deep, so I was okay with just side chaining the whole fucking sub off, because it just hits so hard. And I wanted to cut through the mix of that Reese. And then I noticed when everything was going on, the snare would kind of get lost in translation. So I made a quick side chain. So I peeped. Let me see. Let me pull that up. Oop. I have those all. Yeah. So the snare's running through here. You see I have L2 on, and then I just turn it off. I ended up not even using it. Oh, it's still there. Anyways, that happens sometimes. I try to be clean, but sometimes I forget shit. And there was one thing I forgot to take off. I really like this. Oh shit, what did I do? Okay, I really like this compressor because it helps everything gel together. Sound like it's actually a part of the same drum kit. Sounds good. So when I'm mixing a bunch of different stuff together in my drum bus, I'll use this. It's called Ferric TDS. It is free. The preset, literally mix glue. Sounds like it was meant for drum and bass. It sounds great on it. I like it. So I use it. And the reason why I have it not on the bus, but I have it on the break. I think I did it on the bus too. Yeah, see, I have it also on the bus. Same damn preset, because it works. Because I routed these 3 elements together. I did the shakers, I did the little ghost note perks, and the snare and splashy tops all together in the same channel. So it gets a mixed glue treatment, and then the kick was literally the last thing I added on it, because like I said, it was originally just that. It's like, it's a good placeholder for now, but it's going to change later, and it did. So I made a copy of this just so it can cut through at the main body of that hit, and it cuts right through the mix right here. And see how it ducks down. The lively part of that snare was at 350 hertz, so that's where I made the sidechain attack. Pretty simple, nothing crazy. So you can see how the kick and the snare, the marriage between the two and the Reese, fucking with the frequencies. At the very end. I don't like how the end of that worked, but when it's in the track, it actually sounds fine. But on its own, it sounds kind of weird. Cool. Now we're moving right into the bass line. And I'm feeling warm and fuzzy off my little concoction. Alright, so don't mind me if I kind of wander off mentally while I'm doing this. Because I'm feeling a little too good right now. Anyways. So, serum is what I use to make this bass line. Oh yeah, old school goodness. So let's get into, see, track 12. Source, serum source. I had that turned off afterwards because it's whatever. I ended up not using it. And then I use this to shave off the top because I had some peaks. So I'll put that on the entertainment. Boom. We'll go above 0. And I took this channel. From this channel, I split into 4 different channels. Sub, low, mid, high. How in the hell did I do that? So without doing this, let's see. Camel fed again. Tame it. Boom. Sub frequency. 30 roll off, 120 roll off. And mono. Sub frequencies in mono. Got the big old bottom end sitting down right dead center of the mix. It's not getting lost more on the left. It's not getting lost on the right. It's not moving around. The bass is sitting right where it needs to, right in the dead center. You're still getting phasing because of this. But that's okay. It was designed to be old school sounding on purpose. I want to be clean, but with this one, not too clean. I still wanted that old school vibe to it. So I made this mono, the sub channel mono. It's about as clean as I'll get with that. Because that's just the nature of the sound. Low. What the fuck? There we go. Low, 120 to 500. See, it covers right above sub and right before mid. That's fine to have a little bit of bleed off. That's fine. Not too worried about those. Trust me, I try to keep it surgically closed off. It doesn't sound as good. It kind of thins it out. I wanted to sound nice with that. Just trying it over a long time. It just sounds better when it's like that. So I let that roll off, bleed into a little bit. It sounds better that way. Again, off that same idea, it's not stupid if it works. That's your low. Then you got your mids. Now, since we're not in the higher frequencies anymore, it's not in mono. You see, even the lower, I kind of merged it, but not too much. The mid, not merged at all. So I want there to be not a huge spread, not a huge, just a slight. I want it to at least have stereo. Let's roll off from 500 to 10,000. I added chorus. As you see on my dry to wet ratio, it's very, very low. Very low. I just want to look just a little bit. Just nothing crazy. A little spice made it nice. And in the highs, 10,000 to 20. I got a little bit more liberal with the output of the chorus. That is 50-50. And then you put it all together. A little bit of compression using the ferret. Use the mixed glue again because it sounded good even on the bass. I usually don't do with the bass. In this instance I did, and it sounded fine, so I ran with it. Little bit of post distortion. See, it doesn't have a big change, but it does increase the volume, and this will give it extra harmonics. This gives it a bit of that extra top to it. You don't want to go too crazy with the excited on it, or it'll fucking make your ears bleed, because it is all highs. For the reverb, I didn't go generic in the box. I went with the Epic Verb. This thing is the presets on it are great. I get a good sound out of it, and this is really good with trance sounds, but it worked on the Reese because, again, going for an old school sound. So put a reverb on there. It's not too, yeah, see, again, it's a little over a quarter on the dry and wet knob. Nothing crazy, but it added that little bit of oomph that I was looking for, so I ran with it. Fruity filter for some moments, like, let me see, the build. It's actually how I got that sound. Yeah, see, got the cutoff going up. It's literally what I have the filter on for those moments when I do that. And I do that a couple times during the track at key moments. To tighten up the bass, I use an imager, sterilize the entire damn thing, and from 20 to 120, I dropped it a little bit down on the width. It worked. It sounded good, so yeah. I just wanted to tighten up just a little bit. I'll talk about that why I did that actually. There is a reason why I did that. Because I was actually kind of torn on this bass line. At first, let me see, I was on my third iteration of this track, and I was like, I like this bass line. I don't know if it's like what I don't know. It's like, can I go anywhere else with this? So I was fucking around with this. And this is where I start talking about why it sounds the way it does within Serum itself. So, let me close all this. Because we're going to focus on this. Alright, Serum. Gloves are off, Serum. Let's go. Alright. So, I booted up Serum, and I literally just had this. I just had something like that. Whatever it normally starts with in a unison. I'm just going to turn all this shit off. You get the idea. It's very basic saw, very basic saw sound. So it's like, okay, if we're going with old school German bass Reese, you're gonna take two of the same wave and you're gonna detune them. Cool, basic business. It wasn't that detuned yet. It was like right around here. Why are you so hard to get the 48? Okay, so yeah, cool. I got the left and right. Usually want something down the middle, so we'll do it at 3. It's like, no, I want it bigger. Let's go to 6. Oh shit, here we go. This is the sound. So bass is left and right. Which I was kind of bothered by at first, but the more you put stuff down the middle, see, I added an analog syn wave, and I detuned that even, and I have one going down the middle. Let me see, blend. Yeah, see? One down the middle. And then I added another sub. So now, the phasing gives it that nice in and out effect. That's literally all it is. It is an extremely simple bass line. But notice I turn all the effects off. Now with phasing, usually you'll have it go like left and right, left and right, left and right, and back and forth. They'll kind of have this ping pong effect where it goes between both sides. And I'm pretty sure in a couple of iterations before I got to where I am now, you heard how it went left to right. You can see it on the meter, it's going left, right, left, right, left, right. So the more you distort it or compress it, I can't say or, you do both, it'll even out those levels. Don't mind this. This is actually for some added depth. This has nothing to do with the phasing. But yeah, the distortion, we'll see address that. Flangers for the old school effect. EQ to give it extra sparkle, a little bit of soul at the bottom. And then a filter. It's like, you can barely notice the difference on that filter. Nothing crazy. EQ makes a big difference on that. If it wasn't for the EQ, that would sound like shit. was just address it to give it more of a center focus and address the phasing. Now, once I got to this point, and like I said, I was on the third iteration, I was like, man, I wonder if I could do something different with this bass line. So I started fucking with this. I literally took it. Let me see, I got off work one night, and I worked on this, just this, for 4 hours, and I ended up reverting it back to this. But I started messing with other things. I dropped a whiff because usually when you do a Reese and you don't want the spread to go left and right, I brought the width all the way down to 0. And then you bring the range down to 1. Now the thing is, this is pretty standard, honestly, for making Reeses. It keeps the phasing from going left and right. But the problem is, it made the up and down effect that phasing gives slower. And that sounded really off with what I was going for in a track. It really sounded weird. Like it didn't fit. I mean, it sounded the sound itself. Like if you slowed the bass line, I was like, oh, okay, that's legit as shit. It sounds great. But in the track, it did not fit. It did not sound good at all. And I tried so many variations. You see, having it driven up. But it just did not fit the track. I tried so many different ways. What else did I try to make it work? Oh, here we go. I dropped the detune because the tighter you go, when it was at that much of a spread, it made it actually kind of like the pitch was going up and down, and that was no bueno for what I was going for. Like, it sounded good, but it just did not work for what I was going for in this track. So I tried at 100, I tried at 20, 50, and I ended up just bringing it right back. I was like, you know what, it sounds good like this. I even tried it up in the range. It just sounded even more fucking weird. Like, it didn't even sound good at the point, the higher range I went. I think yeah. it sounds good on its own. It's like, man, that sounds pretty raw, man. Nah, did not work with this track. It's not what I was going for. So I ended up bringing it back. You literally just watch how I fucked around and made the bass line. That's literally it. Literally how I started and made it the first iteration is how I stuck with it, no matter how much I tried to change it afterwards. Because it just, I guess because I was like, I'm gonna make something that fits this track, and then I tried to do something outside of the track, and it just didn't work. So I just stuck with it, and it's not stupid if it works. And that's the track. That was the track. Fifth place, singer's favorite, which I think is pretty damn cool that he gave me a shout like that. Made it known that it was his favorite, so thank you for that. That's kind of a big deal to me. It's a little bit of a big deal. So yeah, I'm hoping I can make more tracks like this in the future, because I've been wanting to make Tech Step officially for a while, because I got stuck in a Neurofunk game back in 2012, because the labels weren't taking anything but Neurofunk, so that's why you heard nothing but Neurofunk for me. I actually had a bunch of Tech Step tracks I had made prior to that, and they never got released. Never. It's a damn shame too. So now that I've completely did the breakdown of that track, I hope you're satisfied by that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a message. Maybe I can elaborate on something that you didn't understand. Um, Whatever. I'll be glad to help. Um, Let me see. Let's see if my boy Niam's on. Is he up? And while I'm seeing, come on, turn on. Bring up a track I've been working on. I worked on the track I streamed last, very recent. I'm pretty happy with where I got it now. I just need to literally just write the other half of it. I did the intro, I did the drop, all the measures up until the break. I stopped there because it's like, okay, I ran out of gas. Oh, thank you, Fem, for letting me know I'm getting on this. CPU level, if the project goes up to 30 on idle. I think he's messing with our track choice. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up a track that I started after the last stream, because I need to do some more work on it. I'm on the third iteration of this. And I dubbed it the debug room because of it's a stupid working title, but it kind of worked because it uses. Let me see what he said. Nah. What track? Oh, I guess you pissed me off. Just chilling. It's for him. Oh. Damn, it's 4 a.m. over there, boy. will feel obligated to okay. Let's get into this track.
Am I dead?
Well, that all depends on your perspective.
I accidentally turned it off. What the fuck? But yeah, that is from the Final Fantasy VII abridged shows on YouTube. It's fantastic, too. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. That shit is funny as hell. Um, so the debug room concept came from the Final Fantasy VII debug room as well. So it's kind of just whatever. It's a good working title for the track. Um, my buddy Niami's like, hey, we should make a bunch of minimal tracks since that's the big shit right now. And I'm like, I was like, challenge accepted. I'll make a minimal track, but I'm gonna do it my way. So this was the result of that. Actually, I started. Let me see. And I was like, okay, very basic, just like minimum drum and bass. It's like I made my cool bass line using Serum. I got that cool little drum beat. We'll roll with that, and I'll just start adding shit here and there. And it just. Let me see something. Still hearing a fucking chorus on that. Where are you? Okay, you're on the highs. You're on the. Is it this? No, that's not it. Is it? Found you. So, I try to tighten up the bass like I did on my track that's working title Whoa. Sounded really fucking good. So I'm gonna see. Let's see if that works on here too. Because it would be awesome if it did. I went to, yeah, after the compressor. Yeah, that's off anyways. Huh. Was it off on the other one too? Or am I losing my damn mind? Yep, bigger than shit, it was off. Did I just turn those off? I'm still feeling a little goofy right now from my goofy juice I'm drinking. Yeah, I did turn those off. Well, shit. Here's what I'll do. Turn those off like that. I'm gonna leave those there, just in case. Oop, EQ is already on afterwards. Oh, that must be for the Okay, yeah. I know what's going on with that. So we'll leave that the way that is. Um, turn those off. EQ on after compressor. And then we'll make that 5.4. Just give that a nice sizzle on top. Okay, I accidentally turned that off. Duh. Okay, so there's something I did with this, and that like the top end just screams on that. Oh, there we go. That sounds better. This should be the higher one. Just turn that down a little bit. That sounds better. I changed it to the multi-band one on like iteration. It was actually iteration 3, which is the one I'm working on right now. And after the fact, I was like, "What in the fuck is that high pitch sound?" But like, I was already done working on it. I haven't touched it for since then. So the entire time with the demo clip I made had that on there, so like it'd be at work and it'd come on my playlist. Sometimes I'll listen over stuff while I'm working on warehouse designs and whatnot now. See if ideas come to me, something that sticks out that I didn't notice before. I'm like, yeah, what the hell's that? Maybe I should take that out. Yeah, whatever. Just critical listening. I was like, man, it has to be that damn multi-band, and that's exactly what it was. So. it's meant to be a really simple, minimal track that's just, has the Lifelink aggressive sound to it. Nothing too crazy.
Depends on your perspective.
But we're all dying if you think about it.
I don't know why it's cracking me right now. Oh my god. Oh fuck. Oh. I can't deal with you right now. I fucking can't. I can't deal with you. Oh shit.
Your perspective.
But we're all dying if you think about it.
Oh shit. Uh, uh.
Your perspective.
But we're all dying.
By the way, it's doing that so bad because I just tried to experiment with a pad on here with again something else I did in Zerum. I can delete that 'cause that is fucking irrelevant. I was using that thing for scales and just it's whatever. What is? I have two different things. What is this?
Your perspective.
What? What is this? Hold on. Mute the drum bus. Hold the fuck on.
Am I dead?
Well, that all depends on your perspective.
But we're all dying if
Wow, that sounded stupid. I'm deleting that. And then we have this version.
Am I dead?
Well, that all depends on your perspective.
I'm gonna freak out. Just delete that. Yes, that high pitched sound, I'm aware of it, and it's on there on purpose. Because I'm a dick. Ooh. I'm taking it out now because I don't like it. It's a bit much. Ooh, I just deleted it. Whoa, there we go.
Am I dead?
Well, that all depends on your perspective.
but we're all dying if you think about it.
Oh, man. So that is debug room. Load up another track. So why not? Let's load up a project. This is a spoof project. I was making fun of there was a series of tracks that Current Value put out for a couple years. It was like Jump Up meets Death to Yours. Yes, death to your ears. It's like, oh look, we're just gonna hit a sustain on this fucking annoying ass sound, and it's just gonna and just it was fucking terrible. Dude's a great producer, but for a couple years he just put out tracks like that. And it was like, wow, can you fucking not, dude? And I made a spoof of it because I'm only serious like not even half the time of my life. So
In the end, what you make doesn't care what you say it is. The future is.
The future.
In the end, why you.
Yeah, I think that sounds current value ish. God damn it. See, that kind of sounds cool. Oh, wait a minute. Let's hold on. Wait a fucking minute. Wow, okay, that we're even. Yep. Yep. That. Yep. Welcome to current value, boys. Literally a couple years of him putting out nothing but stuff like that. His newer stuff's pretty damn good though. I really like how he's come back around. It's he's taken his mad noises and made them musical once again instead of it being like this brick wall of fucking sound coming at your fucking ears. So yeah. That's that. Something I need to take it serious. Just fuck around. Let me see. Current great value. Frontal instead of frontier. I don't know. Wordplay. Fight me. Alright, so I revisited this track over the weekend. Fuck yeah, it's gonna freak out on the pad because fuck me, right? Oh my god, all this stuff and you're trying to stream. I'm streaming and doing this at the same time. So yeah, that's where I'm at with tracks. Actually, so wrapped up the Dark Sanctuary remix contest. 5th place, favorite by the singer. Awesome, awesome. Getting close to finishing up this track, which I am really wanting to finish this one up. Sounding pretty damn slick right now. After this, I'll have a nice kit made so I can write some more tracks out aside from Debug Room. I actually got quite a few in this folder, but not really feeling those like I am these two. And I'm in another remix contest for In the Mix. The track is a really, really slow one. Really slow pop song ish. By a dude named Closure. What the hell is this song called? It's been like 2 weeks since I worked on it. Closure while you think it's over. So that's not due until the end of the month. So like I've already finished it. So I'm just holding on to it just in case something else comes about. Oh, let's do this with the track. Yeah, I didn't want to like submit it too early and then I think of something later on down the road because I still have until the end of the month to turn it in. That was me and Niam. We collaborated on that remix. So you'll see Niam and Lifelink remix. Let me see. We got Haze. We got Mind Razor, Rip and Tear, Shrats, Stitches. Me and Niam are working on a track called Choice, which he is currently working on right now. So I'm not gonna fuck with it. Let him do his part because he initiated that project. So I sent him over version 2. So now he's gonna throw me over version 3 once he's done. Unless something changes, I don't know. I'm just this is what I think's happening. Who knows? Also helping the wife is learning how to produce music once again. Just wanting to get back into making EBM industrial music, so I am coaching her in that, and we'll probably do some collab music and put that out as well. So I'm working on a lot of different things at once, so let's hopefully get something out before summer, right? Yeah, and once again lose my dad bod because I got that back after getting off active duty. Because like right now my lower back's screaming, so it's not really wanting to move around right now. But I'll get there, and I'll lose this dad bod slowly but surely. Once again, done it before. I'll do it again. So that is it. Probably gonna chillax, play some games with the wife, and if you like what you see, like what you heard, learn anything new, add me, send me a message, I'll give you a shout out. I'm gonna try to do these more consistently. Just with this pandemic thing, kind of put me on hold for a couple weeks because I had to get a lot of shit sorted out around here with my current living situation at my house. As I'm sure everyone else who is going to see this or is currently watching this has done themselves. So yeah, I'll see y'all soon. I'm gonna get off here and chillax for a night. Peace.